Do you think God has a sense of humour? Let me tell you a story. In Australia, we call this an octopus strap. It's used to tie things down. And we call this swimsuit a budgie smuggler. Why, you ask? Well, if this was all you were wearing, where would you put a budgie that you were wanting to smuggle? When I wore them, I used to tell people that mine were called emu smugglers. A guy's tummy muscles are called a six-pack. This is also called a six-pack. I tell people I have a six-pack. It's just that it's now in the fridge. And this sailing boat with two hulls is called a catamaran. Why am I telling you this? So you'll understand the story that I'm about to tell you. When you first go out with a girl, the reception from her family can be, well, variable. The family of the girl that I was going out with, well, they were hard to win over. When it came to family photos, I was asked to stay out of them. You may not last. So imagine my excitement when I was finally invited to visit them while they were on their family holiday. I took this as a good sign. They must be warming to me, I thought. The holiday was to be held at a place called Shell Harbour, and the main reason that they were going there is that my girlfriend's eldest brother had purchased a catamaran and was going to learn how to sail it. I was invited to stay for a couple of days. I thought I'd better get some new budgie smugglers, so I got some bright red ones. I tried them on. I thought I cut a fine figure. I drove up to Shell Harbour and was warmly greeted by the family. The next day we went to the beach, and her brother went and sailed his boat, while I lay on the beach with my girlfriend, sunbaking in between swims.
Hey Mike, why don't you and Robin take the catamaran out for a spin?
The chance of being out on a boat with Robin, away from the family's eyes, sounded like a great idea. So with me wearing my budgie smugglers and Robin wearing her bikini, we launched the boat and quickly sailed onto the lake. But then, all of a sudden, the wind dropped and the catamaran stopped. No worries, I thought. Kind of like running out of petrol in the car. We now had an excuse to stay for longer away from the family. But Robin was not happy about being becalmed. In fact, she wasn't calm at all.
Oh no, this is terrible. This happened yesterday to my brother and father. They were stuck out here for 2 hours.
But 2 hours alone with you sounds wonderful.
Don't be stupid. Look what we are wearing. It's the middle of the day. We'll be burned to a crisp.
She was right. We hadn't brought our hats or sunscreen. The Aussie sun is unforgiving. We could be in a lot of pain. But what could I do? Well, God can control the wind and the waves, so he can rescue us. So I prayed, and my prayers were answered, and a gust of wind suddenly appeared. I grabbed the rudder and quickly turned the boat around and headed for shore. Hopefully I would get to the shore before the gust blew out. But suddenly we came to a sudden stop again. There was a half-sunken dinghy tied up to a buoy, and our rudder had caught on the rope that had been laying across the water. With the gust still blowing, but the rudder fouled in the rope, the catamaran started to tip. "Don't worry," I said. "I'm sure that I can move it." So I knelt on the side of the boat and pushed my foot down into the water to push the rope under the rudder to unfoul it. But I had to push deeper than I originally thought, and so slipped off the hull and into the water. And on the way down, the side of my budgie smugglers, well, they got caught on an octopus strap. I was down in the water, and the side of my swimmers were by my ear, and I was experiencing the greatest Reggie you could ever. Robin was screaming. I was in pain. What could I do? So I prayed, and my prayers were answered. Twang! My swimmers ripped off and were catapulted into the air. I managed to swim and retrieve them, and trying to hold them in a way to protect my modesty, climbed back into the boat. A cheer erupted from the jetty. I looked, and there was a line of men with their fishing lines fishing off the jetty. They had been watching and had decided to cheer my efforts. How embarrassing! But how could I get out of here? So I prayed, and again my prayers were answered. A guy in a ski boat had seen our plight, and so swung around our boat and called out, "Don't worry, mate, I'll throw you my ski rope. Hang on to it, and I'll pull you to shore, okay?" So I caught the ski rope he threw me. I held on to the centre mast, and I held on to my budgie smugglers and the ski rope, and he took off. And then I realised no one was holding the rudder. The result was that instead of following the ski boat in a straight line, we shot off in a big arch to the side, and in so doing collected all the fishing lines of the guys on the jetty. They yelled again, but this time in anger, not in encouragement. I let go of the ski rope as we approached the shore, and we cruised into the beach. My relief, however, turned to panic when I saw her mother running to greet us. I didn't pray. I just yelled to Robin, "For heaven's sake, throw me something so I can cover myself up with." None of my prayers were answered the way I had hoped. Later I thought about complaining to God about the whole thing, but I got this distinct impression that he would just smile and say, "You've got to admit, it was funny though. If you don't laugh at yourself, you may be missing out on the biggest joke there is." So that is my story number 64. Do you think God has a sense of humour? Let me know in the comments below. And God bless. If you like this story, give me some encouragement by liking and or subscribing to my channel, where you can find many more stories that I told my kids. God bless.